Hey there folks, welcome to the Badger Pilot. 2024 is officially history now. We're going to talk about some of the highlights throughout the year, including why it's perfectly okay with me that I didn't accomplish a single goal that I set out to, and we'll look ahead to 2025 to see what's in store. And if you have an aviation YouTube channel, stay tuned to the end because I'm going to have some tips for you guys that were shared with me that I plan on implementing in 2025. "2024 can pretty much be summed up in one big statement, and that's I bought an airplane. The plane I'm flying right now, November 9 or 5402, I bought back in February of 2024, late February. And so some of the interesting aspects of ownership I'll get into later in the video, but as most people who own planes know, and maybe those who are in flying clubs or even rent know, planes need a lot of maintenance. So because of that, my flying kind of suffered a little bit throughout the year. I didn't fly as much as I wanted to. Although I did pass my commercial written, I did not actually even really start, let alone finish my commercial rating, which was one of my goals for 2024. But I'm perfectly okay with that because, again, I bought my own plane, and part of the maintenance issues that go with flying is just something you got to live with. But I will definitely take owning my own plane and having to delay a rating or two. No big deal because I love flying my own plane. So let's talk about some of the numbers for 2024. I flew a total of 54 flights for 70.2 hours, and I landed at 24 different airports, some of which I had landed at before, and some of them were completely new to me as well. I also flew with 16 different people. Some of them were experienced pilots, far more experienced than me, and some of them were their first time ever in a small airplane. So a really cool experience getting to share general aviation with other people. My longest flight of the year was both in time and distance, and that was a pilots and pause flight that my friend Ed and I flew down to Jasper County, Indiana to pick up a dog to bring it up to Burlington, Wisconsin. That was a 4.1 hour logged day, and obviously when you take into consider ground time, pre-flight, all that stuff, it was probably about a 6-hour day, but 4.1 hours logged for a total straight line distance of 277 nautical miles. That was a flight we did at night with the Chicago skyline, and that video is going to be coming up in the future. So make sure you guys subscribe to the channel so you don't miss that video. And then the shortest flight I did was from Capitol Drive, a whole 0.2 hours and maybe 3 miles to Waukesha Airport, where I was ferrying the plane to Skycom at Waukesha to have some transponder issues looked at. Outside of that, one of my biggest accomplishments was getting comfortable enough landing and taking off in the grass that I got to the point now I don't even know how many times I've done it. Landing in the grass is now my preferred method, and I actually no longer put it in the logbook in the remarks section that it was a grass landing, because for me it's just as normal as landing on pavement now. So if you're not comfortable landing in the grass, I challenge you guys in 2025, go find some grass strips. Come to Capitol Drive, we've got a beautiful grass strip that's usually in line with the winds, and get comfortable landing in grass. Because once you're good at it, once you're comfortable with it, you'll find that it's actually a lot of fun. And it seems like I can't go very long without a bird strike. I did have a bird strike in this plane. Thankfully there was no noticeable damage or anything like that. It was on the takeoff roll. I was actually about to rotate. I saw the bird. I never heard the bird. I never felt the bird. I didn't see any drop in RPMs or anything like that. Nevertheless, I aborted the takeoff just out of precaution. And sure enough, there were some feathers and wings on the plane, and I actually went and recovered the bird and sent it in, and it was a swallow of some type, I think. So 2 bird strikes, one of them on the year and one of them in the past, so hopefully 2025 will be no bird strikes. We'll see. Alright, so let's talk a little bit about the plane. As I mentioned, I bought this plane in February. It's a 1969 Cherokee 140. It's been based at my home airport, Capitol Drive, for many, many years. I'm only the 3rd owner. First owner was down in Texas, second owner was based at Capitol. And like I mentioned, I had a transponder issue. That was actually the second issue. My first issue was my vertical speed indicator. Despite the fact that on the test flight, everything was working fine, the very next flight, which was my first flight with the plane, my VSI was having issues, and so that was a replacement. Not long after that, I realized that my transponder was having issues. It was putting out multiple signals, sometimes showing a code of all zeros, even if I was on 1200 or an assigned code. So I took it to Skycom, got that fixed. And then it came time for the annual. And at annual, I knew I at least wanted to get an IRAN and inspect and replace as needed on the magnetos. But when I sent them in, what we found was that they actually needed a full overhaul. So that delayed my annual quite a bit. It ended up being about 2 months. In addition to that, some of the things we did, we got all new spark plugs, new tires and tubes. But the big thing there was the overhaul on the mags, which put my plane out of service for about 2 months. And then not long after that, I started having an oil heat indication on my oil temperature gauge. And I made a video about that flight asking if you guys would declare an emergency or not. And ultimately I didn't, but I think in other circumstances maybe I would have. But given the exact circumstances of that flight, I think it was reasonable not to. But that ended up just being a temperature probe issue. The probe was reading faulty, and so thankfully that was not a health of the engine issue and just an indication issue off of a bad probe. But that ended up putting the plane out of commission for about a month too, so now that's 3 months just for maintenance, and then December was just garbage weather, so that's why my hours were not what I wanted them to be, but what can you say? And that's the price you pay with ownership. But we ended the year on a positive note. I installed an oil pan preheater, so now that we're in the cold weather, I got a little Wi-Fi adapter for the power cord, so now all I have to do is wake up, say, Alexa, start my oil heater, and a few hours later when I show up to the airport, the oil's nice and warm and ready to go, which is a huge benefit for winter flying here in the Midwest and in Wisconsin. So at least maintenance, we ended on a positive note for 2024. Alright, and now let's talk about the channel for 2024. I put out 21 videos and 29 shorts. Shorts are something I had started playing with this year and was kind of experimenting for the first time with it. My most viewed video was actually one of the first videos of the year, and it was something like ATC Gone Wild or Flirting with ATC or something like that. And that was a full-length video that got 23,000 views. And then I also put out a short from Sheboygan doing a short field landing in front of a commercial jet that was waiting for me. And that video got 212,000 views, just absolutely insane. Totally not something I expected, but that was really cool to see as well. And my channel this year did much better than I ever expected to do. I got 305,000 views total for a total of, I think it was like 3,800 hours or something along those lines. And the biggest analytic for me, I gained over 630, I think the total number was 632 subscribers in 2024, which was an increase of about 600% on my channel, which was absolutely insane. So if you're one of those new subscribers, thank you so much for doing that. I hope you guys are enjoying the content. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please feel free to now. And we'll talk about that in the goals of 2025. So let's get into the goals for 2025, and we'll start again with the pilot. My goal is to fly at least 100 hours, but more importantly, not only to start, but to actually complete my commercial rating. I'd like to also start flying from the right seat because ultimately I'd like to get my CFI, my flight instructor rating, but commercial is the main goal with that. Outside of that, it seems like I do one compassion flight a year, and it's always been in the form of pilots and pause. I'd like to do 3 compassion flights in 2025, whether all of them are pilots and pause or maybe an angel flight or something like that, but 3 compassion flights is the goal for me. And then lastly, I do have my commercial rating prerequisites already finished. I've got the long commercial solo, I've got the 2 dual flights, but I think I'm going to go ahead and redo them. I know I'd like to do at least one longer flight where I'm forced just due to length alone to refuel, so I think definitely a longer flight for sure. And with longer flights, I prefer to fly on an instrument flight plan, but this plane is currently VFR only, so that sets us up for 2025 goals for the plane. And the biggest one is to get the plane IFR capable and current. Right now I'm VFR only. I've got the single radio stack. My Navcom 2 doesn't work. Just basic instruments. The goal is to get a GPS, maybe get some pitot heat and a few other things too, but IFR capable is definitely the end goal here. Outside of that, I'd like to work on my own maintenance a little bit more. I'd like to do my own oil change for the first time. I'll do that likely with my mechanic so he can show me what I'm doing and how to do it. But doing my own maintenance within the limits of the regs that I'm allowed to, and hopefully ultimately having a less extensive annual. I know a second annual is still going to be pretty busy. By the time you get to the third annual, it kind of mellows out, but I'm really hoping my second annual isn't quite as dramatic as the first one was. But I guess I can't really set that as a goal because that's kind of out of my hands. It's all up to what the plane does and what my mechanic finds and does, but hopefully it'll be less extensive. And then lastly, let's talk about the channel goals for 2025. Like I said, 2024 was just absolutely insane how successful my channel was, and I really can't thank you guys enough. My goal for 2025 is to hit 1,000 subscribers, which I think I'm in like the 960s right now, so I don't think that's a terribly unattainable goal. So if you haven't subscribed yet, please do so. Please hit that subscribe button. Help me get to that goal of 1,000 subscribers. And then the other goal I have is a total of 4,000 watch hours. Now that's kind of out of my control. I can't really force you guys to sit down and watch my videos. But to help with that, I'm going to try to reach that 20 video mark again. Ultimately, I think I'm going to try and do 25 full-length videos. I tell you what, guys, editing videos takes a lot of time. And if the weather's garbage, the plane's down for maintenance, I'm not flying, therefore I'm not filming. So because of that, I'm going to try and push myself a little bit out of my comfort zone. I got some great advice from another YouTuber who said, you got to show your face and you got to talk to the camera. And so that's kind of what I'm trying here now, is talking to you guys, showing my face, and doing kind of a recap as a trial version of that. So let me know in the comments if you're enjoying this style of video of talking to the camera. On top of the long form videos, I do plan on keeping... Oh, there goes my fuel timer. Fuel pump on, got a landing spot. Left tank, felt the click, fuel pump off, still have fuel pressure. And then I do plan on continuing with the YouTube shorts. I don't know if they're helping my channel a ton, but I kind of actually really enjoy making them. Originally I was kind of opposed to them. They seemed like kind of a Gen Z thing, or what, Gen Alpha or whatever we're in. But I actually kind of enjoy making them. I hope you guys enjoy watching them. And it's kind of fun to just see it all consolidate a big moment of a flight into basically just a 10 to 15 second clip. So I think the shorts will keep going for the year. As I kind of hinted, I recently got some tips from an aviation YouTuber, very well known. I'm not going to say his name because I don't know if he wants to be associated with me or not. I know I wouldn't. But he gave me some really good info. He said, first of all, you got to make your titles and your thumbnails as clickbaity as possible without actually lying. And so I'm trying to implement that more, make my thumbnails a little more appealing, a little more click-worthy. I'm trying not to be overly clickbaity, but I am trying to also kind of get that wow factor going between the title and the thumbnail. So hopefully you guys don't see it as too over the top. I'm just trying to get my videos a little bit more exposure. The other thing he told me is what I'm trying to do now, and pushing myself out of my limits, is showing my face. You guys know usually the videos that I show are just the back of my head, the panel from this camera right here. I actually ordered an additional camera so I can do this selfie mode more often while still getting the wing view you guys are used to seeing, and of course the overhead and the panel. So along those lines, if you guys have anything that you have suggestions for my channel, please let me know in the comments. And of course that leads me to the last and final, and probably one of the most important things for me, is I plan on being just as engaged, if not more so, in the comments. Those of you that have been following my channel for a while that actually comment on my videos, thank you for doing that. I think that helps boost the analytics. But you guys know it's very rare for a comment to be on my video that goes unanswered. I try and be very engaged with the community, and it's one of the favorite things of being on YouTube and social media in general, is just engaging with the aviation community, sharing thoughts and ideas, and ultimately finding ways that we can all be safer pilots. Okay, and no sooner do I say that I'm working on this selfie thing that my camera overheats, so I'm doing this last little bit on my cell phone. Don't tell the FAA. But anyways, thanks so much for watching, you guys. Thanks if you're a subscriber. Thank you so much for subscribing. If you are, please share these videos. If you haven't yet, please subscribe. And of course, a huge thank you to the patrons. I don't know if you guys are getting the value out of your Patreon subscription that I'm putting into it, but I really appreciate the support that you guys give, both the financial support and just the ideas that I bounce off of you guys. So thank you so much. Again, make sure you like, subscribe, leave a comment down below, and thank you again for a great 2024, and I look forward to seeing you guys in 2025. Until then, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time on the Badger Pilot.